one of the first things is people have to remember in this area of the world, you're dealing with a lot of, of scripture and holy war. So there's a lot of emotion that's tied to this outside of what just, what's shared with us through the media. So when you look at Hamas, and putting these bombs under a strategic target like a hospital, and if you look at the size of Hamas compared to, the IDF, they're exponentially outnumbered. So why would such a small unit like Hamas want to engage with Israel? And, in law enforcement, we have something known as suicide by cop. And when you look at what's going on here, I keep getting more revelations of this, especially after getting some of the intel you've shared, is when Hamas went and did what it did against Israel, killing 1,400 people and the horrible atrocities and the way it did it, and then collected, over 200, hostages. Israel is going to react a certain way because it's the biggest attack they've had, on their country for many decades. Which means that when Israel does that attack and it drops the bombs that we see the narrative that media has put, it's carpet bombing. So many civilians are injured and babies are injured. What that does is now you get the Middle Eastern countries that surround Israel to now get emotionally engaged into this conflict. And then what happens with that? Now you got America, Israel's biggest ally, that pulls us in. Well, that I feel like it was Hamas's intentions the whole time to get Israel to react that way, to put Israel in conflict with the entire region that's surrounding it. And I think we're seeing that unfold. And when you talk about getting, Huawei phones into, the hands of the Hamas terrorists, I mean, what more do you need to hear than to understand that the CCP is helping a terrorist organization? We're not talking about a uniformed military force. And even if they were, they operated outside the scope of, the laws of war with the way they did the things and harming and torturing non-combatants. And then on top of that, you have the information and the intel that they were going to go and destroy evidence in the guise of humanitarian aid. And as soon as we started to see these convoys line up at the Egyptian and the border with Gaza, the first thing that I said is, before any of that humanitarian aid, quote unquote humanitarian aid, gets into Gaza, Israel needs to have complete control of the southern area of Gaza and go through and vet every vehicle, every box that comes through there, because I already knew, no, there's plans there, and based off your intel, now we understand why.